kind of like the got milk. Well, yep, got data. At this time, you're beginning to get some data accumulated. Diane set up a specialist account for me so I can dive in and I can look and see what you've got going so far. So I did go in yesterday and I went through the certification process just like you did to make sure I knew exactly the miseries that you might be encountering, and then to make sure that I understood deeply what each one of the tests that you were giving was about. So I came with a little bit of background knowledge. I felt a little bit more comfortable in doing the things today. So the things I'm focusing on, I looked deeply at grades 5 and 6 because it looked like that was where the majority of the students were all tested. So that's where I spent a lot of my time in. I did look at the kindergarten scores, I did look at all the other scores, but I can see on your early numeracy you have lots of subtests that you need to get through. And I know that's going to take a while, and I understand.
Okay, question though, are we supposed to give all 17 of those, or are we supposed to just give the 3 that we have to give to get a composite score?
The composite score is what I'm thinking I want to do right now, right?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then if you need to dig deeper, I think you can then look at those other ones, right? Is
exactly.
that how you guys would?
And the automaticity for,
Where?
Kindergarten, but
First grade.
it is available for first grade, and that takes, what, about 90 seconds per test?
I don't know how many out of the
More to do.
tests you guys
I
have.
So
understand.
you can, I don't know, what dab do we want? So that would be a question I guess I would.
I am most interested in the pieces that look at fact fluency, because that's the one piece that's going to give us the most benefit all through the grades, kindergarten, clear through my senior high classes. So fluency, if I don't have good fluency, it's going to be a barrier for further problem solving. So when I'm looking at the automaticity, I really like that. I know that when you're in grades 4, 5, and 6, it goes back to that grade 3 one, and okay, that's some of the facts that we've got to do with it. Doesn't seem to dial it up that I saw yet. So that's still something I think is important for us to do. So when I went on the FastBridge site, I downloaded the interpretation guide. Have you seen this kind of a document? Okay, this interpretation guide, when I looked at the data, and this is a 5th grade score, I am looking at the scaled score here. So I have the name and I have a scaled score. That scaled score is anywhere from the high 200s down in the 100s, all right? So, great, what did that mean? That's when I went online, and it's Appendix F, available online. I found it easily. It was there, a document to download as a PDF, and it tells me if the student scored at 179 or lower, what skills in each of the domains, what skills are mastered, what skills are developing, and what are future skills. If they've mastered it, I do not want to bore those students with lessons teaching that. If it's developing, I want to give them exposure, experiences to continue to develop it. If it's a future lesson I haven't covered yet, then I want to see where that might be coming up in my curriculum, or has it already been taught and this child just is not available to them. Okay? So, and that's going to happen, as I think of my own process. I am not spatially gifted. So when it came to the geometry, I may have had to see that a number of times before some of the spatial sense came to me. So it should have been achieved earlier, but I didn't have a spatial sense. So that could be those kind of situations. So if you haven't looked at this document,
I'll get an email to them.
This is a document that would be very helpful. Now, they also have this document further explained, an additional piece. This narrative, an A math score narrative, gives it to you in a little bit cleaner language. I like this one because it told me domains. I like this one because it told me skills. I felt I had to have them both. So when you're looking at your data, for example, I'm looking at this first child on here. This first child on here has a scaled score of 226. Okay, what does that mean? So I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to find where is 226 falling. And and I have to get to the page that gets there. 226 tells me all of these topics are mastered. Developing is going to be recognize and draw the important attributes of shapes, angles, faces, describe shapes, compare symbols with less than, greater than, equals, blah, blah, blah. It gives me definite things that I know I need to have exposure with. I found that to be very helpful.
I just stumbled upon today, if you, that they do child-specific.
Yes, they do.
forms of that as well.
Yes, they do. I chose to get the group piece because I wanted to see the range where our students were falling. I was looking at the, I guess, umbrella picture instead of the individual spine picture. The other piece I found interesting was a guide on the automaticity skills. And in grade 1, what are the general outcome measures? It took me a long time to figure out their acronym GOM, what they meant by that. I finally found it, general outcome measures. And it told you the facts that they're looking at for automaticity in each of the grades through grade 6. So if you haven't seen any of these things, I'm going to pass around to you so you can take a look at them. But those are the reports that I think would be the most useful to us. So when you are on FastBridge, under your teacher, under the report measure, you can click on the report you want. Underneath of it shows up a little PDF report. You can click on it. And I did group reports to get my scaled pieces. So you have that option to you. But once you have that data, what in tarnation am I supposed to do next? Okay, we didn't spend all this time administering these assessments to just say, okay, check mark, got that done, gotta wait for the next window to come in when I go through this all again. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to gather data to figure out what to do with it. So I'm going to bring you several fluency ideas. I'm going to start from kindergarten and I'm going to work my way up. Okay? So this one comes from U Cubed and it's Snap It. Now I'm working with Unifix cubes and I have 10 here. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In this real quick activity, practicing for kids, it says, I know that's very small, so I'm going to read it to you. Students work together to make different number combinations for a given number. So I need 10 or more, depending on what number you're developing, 10 or more of these Unifix cubes. That's the material I need. Here's my task instruction. This is an activity that children can work on in groups. Okay, you decide the group number that you want. Each child makes a train of connecting cubes of a specified number. So for this example, I would say every child would be given 10. Every child gets 10. On the signal, snap. Children break their trains into 2 parts and hold one hand behind their back. Okay? Snap. One hand behind their back. Sorry. Now, children take turns going around the circle, showing their remaining cubes. The other children work out the full number combination. Okay, so I snapped it. How many do I have?
6.
What's behind my back?
4.
Because, give me a number sentence.
6 is 4, maybe 10.
6 plus 4 equal 10, right? So it's just building combinations of 10. Now, I have to tell you, it's much easier if they're not all one color. So if you give them a combinations of colors, it's easier to distinguish between them. I only had red available in my kit that I brought today, so red's what I showed. But that's an easy way. This is recommended for K1 and 2, just to get some fluency ideas going. So if you're trying to build facts to 10, facts to 20, Snap It's a good idea. It's found at U Cubed. There's a whole bucket of tasks there. I'm just going to showcase some of the ones that I think are easy, manipulatives that you have, that you could spend 5 minutes doing this, a couple times a week, do it for a month. They've probably got real good skills in that now. Okay? Here's another one. How close to 100? This is again from U Cubed. 2 people play this. For the pair of people, you need a total of 2 dice. You need a recording sheet. I'll show you what that looks like on the next screen. This game is played in partners. 2 children share a blank 100 grid. Okay, graph paper if you've got for 100 10 by 10 graph paper, that's what you should have visualized in your head. The first partner rolls 2 number dice. The numbers that come up are the number the child uses to make an array on the 100 grid. They can put the array anywhere on the grid, But the goal is to get the grid completed as full as possible. After the player draws the array on the grid, she writes a number sentence that describes the grid. Then the second player rolls the dice, draws the grid, records the number. The game ends with both players have rolled the dice and cannot put any more arrays on the grid. The goal is how close to 100 could you get. The variation is a kid could do it by themselves. Here's what you're picturing. So, 100 grid, looks like graph paper, yes? To build understanding about multiplication, we need to have a visual for students to comprehend. The array is a really good piece to do it. So this one is a dice of 3 and a dice of 1. So the problem down here is 3 times 1 equals 3. The array, I've got 1 by 3. All right, so a 2 by 6. Do you see a 2 by 6? Okay, can be anywhere. The goal is to fill them up. Now, play ends when you no longer can get your roll, you can't put it on, the other person rolls, you can't put it on, game ends. Otherwise, you could be going on forever trying to get the right combination. That's just a good way to get visual, to get them to know their facts through 10. Okay, if you make a larger number grid, you could do, different ways. If you wanted to get your hexagonal dice out and get bigger ones, you could. Question?
I think a better idea would be to put the problem right inside of that. Like put the three.
You
times
could,
inside.
but I want to get them in the setup for geometry, where I'm going to be doing my multiplication of base times height, and so I'm going to want to have a 3 and a 1 and a 3 on the outside instead of on the inside.
Oh,
Because that's my lead up. That's why I do multiplication by arrays now, is because when I'm working with area, I want to have that for the dimensions on the outside. That's the lead up. Yes, I could put my product inside mine.
yeah,
I could do that easily.
or right, I was just thinking about writing.
Writing the problem in there. Mhm. I do want them to get used to seeing their number sentences. Alright?
Hey Diane, can you, back up a second?
Sure.
When you talk about the lead up to algebra,
Mm-hmm.
base times height, what was the connection to what you put on the bottom? Were you making a connection to your
This
problem?
is my number sentence. 3 times 1 equals 3. Okay?
So do you always want,
I don't care if they would have put 1 times 3.
oh, you don't care?
I don't
Okay.
care. That's because I'm going to teach them what property.
So what part did you care about?
The commutative. I don't want the number problem put inside the grid. I don't want to put 1 times 3 in here where it's shaded. Because when I'm working on geometry,
Got it.
then I want to have my numbers on the outside to indicate dimensions, so it's an easy flow.
Got it.
What about on the outside, because we make arrays when we get to the different properties and things like that. And we write them on the outside
Sure.
of that, not, like
Come on down, Karen.
I'm saying, we might put 2 times 6 right here.
Okay, now what if that's going to be used in the next array?
Yeah, but see, I'm talking about, we always do a different problem
Yeah,
on
okay.
another,
That's no problem.
okay.
That's no problem. That take care of your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's back it down again. What if I'm trying to develop multiplication as repeated addition? Here is one that they've taken clear down to kindergarten. I think it might be for my gifted kindergarten. And they've moved it through 2nd grade. Again, I need 2 dice and I need 10 or more snap cubes per player. Ask the student to roll dice twice. The first roll tells them how many pizzas to draw. The second roll tells them how many pepperonis to put on each pizza. Then they write the number sentence that will help them get pepperonis and all. For example, I roll a dice and get a 4. First number I roll told me I got 4 pizzas. I take the dice, I roll again, and I get 3. So I put 3 pepperonis on each pizza. Then I write my number sentence, 4 times 3 is 12, and that tells me that there are 12 pepperonis in all. So I could count on if I wanted to, doing that to begin to develop my multiplication. When I'm looking at the general outcome measures for grades 1, this might be a great way to practice some of those things in the automaticity that you've got. All right. I'm going to explain it, then I'm going to make you play this, and if we could, playing it in 2s would be awesome, but if we want to play it in 3s, I'm not going to have a problem with that, so kind of looking at that kind of piece. Math cards. This is the last one I'm bringing you from U Cubed. Now I'm going to read this to you, and you can have a thought about it, and if you wanna voice that, if you have a disagreement with it, we can have a discussion, but I'm gonna tell you, this is research based.